Hello everyone, and welcome back. Today, we are going to talk about points of view. Do you know what point of view is? Points of view is the perspective from which the story is being told. It usually happens in first person, second person, or even third person. First person usually includes pronouns like I or me. Second person point of view usually includes you or yours. And third person point of view usually consists of he, she, or they. So today, we are going to read the story called The True Story of the Three Little Pigs. And as we read today, I want you to think about who is telling the story and even what do they want. They're going to share with us a different side of the story, contrary to what you've heard before. Join me as I read along. The True Story of the Three Little Pigs by A. Wolf. Everybody knows the story of the three little pigs, or at least they think they do. But I'll let you in on a little secret. Nobody knows the real story because nobody's ever heard my side of the story. I'm the wolf, Alexander T. Wolf, but you can call me Al. I don't know how this whole big bad wolf thing got started, but it's all wrong. Maybe it's because of our diet. Hey, it's not my fault that wolves eat cute little animals like bunnies and sheep and pigs. That's just the way we are. If cheeseburgers were cute, folks would probably think that you were big and bad too. But like I said, the whole big bad wolf thing is all wrong. The real story is about a sneeze, achoo, and a cup of sugar. This is the real story. Way back in once upon a time, I was making a birthday cake for my dear old granny. I had a terrible sneezing cold and I ran out of sugar. Achoo! So I walked down the street to ask my neighbor for a cup of sugar. Now this neighbor was a pig, and he wasn't too bright either. He had built his whole house out of straw. Can you believe it? I mean, who in their right mind builds a house out of straw? Do you see the house in the picture? And can you tell that it is built out of straw? I wonder what's going to happen to that house. Let's make a prediction. So, of course, the minute I knocked on the door, it fell right in. I didn't want to walk into someone else's house, so I called, little pig, are you in? But there was no answer. I was just about to go home without that cup of sugar for my dear old granny's birthday cake, and that's when my nose started to itch, and I felt a sneeze coming on it, and I huffed, and I snuffed, and achoo! And I sneezed a great sneeze. What do you think happened to the house after the wolf sneezed? Did you say that the house fell down? That's exactly what happened. And you know what? The whole straw house fell right down, and right in the middle of the pile of straw was the first little pig, dead as a doornail. He had been home the whole time. It seemed like a shame to leave a perfectly good ham dinner just lying there in the straw. So, I ate it up. Think of it as a big cheeseburger just lying there. I was feeling a little better, but I still didn't have that cup of sugar for my dear old granny's birthday cake. So, I went to the next neighbor's house. This neighbor was the first little pig's brother. He was a little smarter, but not by much. He had built his house out of, what do you think he built his house out of? Were you thinking sticks? You were exactly right. He had built his house out of sticks. I rang the bell on the sick house. Ding dong. Nobody answered. I called, Mr. Pig, are you in? He yelled back, go away, wolf, you can't come in. I'm shaving the hairs on my chinny chin chin. I had just grabbed the doorknob when I felt another sneeze coming out, and I huffed, and I snuffed, and I tried to cover my mouth, but I sneezed a great sneeze. And you're not gonna believe it, but this guy's house fell down, just like his brother's. When the dust cleared, there was the second little pig, dead as a doornail, Wolf's honor. Let's go back and think about what the wolf has done so far. We know that in the beginning, he knocked on the first little pig's door, and that one was made out of straw, and he sneezed, and then the house fell down, and then he saw the first little pig and it was dead, and then he went to the second little pig, house, and he sneezed again, and that house fell down, and he saw that pig dead again there, and he ate it up. I wonder what's gonna happen next. Now you know food will spoil if you just leave it out in the open, so I did the only thing there was to do. I had dinner again. Think of it as a second helping. I was getting awfully full, but my cold was feeling a little bit better, and I still didn't have that cup of sugar for my dear old granny's birthday cake. So I went to the next house. This guy was the first and second little pig's brother. He must have been the brains of the family. He had built his whole house out of bricks. I knocked on the brick house. No answer. I called, "Mr. Pig! Mr. Pig! Are you in?" And do you know what that rude little porker answered? "Get out of here, Wolf! Don't bother me again!" Talk about impolite. He probably had a whole sack full of sugar, and he wouldn't even give me just one little cup for my dear sweet old granny's birthday cake. What a pig! I was just about to go home and maybe make a nice birthday card instead of a cake when I felt my cold coming on, and I huffed and I snuffed and I sneezed once again. Then the third little pig yelled, "And your old granny can go sit on a pen." Now I'm usually a pretty calm fellow, but when somebody talks about my granny like that, I go crazy. When the cops drove up, of course I was trying to break down the pig's door, and the whole time I was huffing and puffing and sneezing and making a real scene. The rest, as they say, is history. The news reporters found out about the two pigs I had for dinner. They figured a sick guy going to go borrow a cup of sugar didn't sound very exciting, so they jazzed up the story with all that huff and puff and blow down your house stuff, and they made me the big bad wolf. That's it. The real story is I was framed. But maybe you could loan me a cup of sugar. What an excellent story. Now, let's talk about the point of view from which the story was being told. Let's think about that. Who was telling the story? And let's also think about, what did they want? I'll give you a second to think about that. Now, as we reflect back upon the story, we realize that the wolf was telling the story. The wolf, all he wanted was a cup of sugar for his dear old granny's birthday cake. And unfortunately, he didn't get that. In fact, we know that the wolf ended up in jail behind all of that. So the story is being told in first person from the wolf's perspective. Usually when we read this story, we hear it from the pig's perspective or the other side. But this time we're hearing it from the wolf. This week, as you read in your stories, I encourage you to think about what perspective the story is being told. Is it first? Is it second? Or even third? And think about, what do the characters in the story want? That may help you figure out from what perspective the story is being told. I thank you so much for joining me this week, and I can't wait to see you again soon. Bye!